Claire. I'm a member of the Empower EG Forum.
Hello, my name's Emma and I'm part of the Empowered Forum.
I was probably unwell for a good 30 years before I sought any help, but I was working in an environment where it was almost encouraged, so it was nothing I wanted to get help with.
I think there were many years that went by where I was just living my life like everyone else. I didn't really think I thought I was doing the best I could. I think I was vaguely aware that there was something different. Obviously, I was becoming more and more isolated from my peers. I was struggling on a day-to-day basis with, just getting around and moving and having the energy. But I thought, well, this is just something I have to deal with. This is something I'm going to live with. I didn't think that there was an alternative.
I didn't originally go for help. It was a random GP appointment about something else, and my GP asked me outright about my eating and food, and whatever she said and how she caught me on that day, I admitted that there was a problem.
I tended not to turn to family or friends because I was very fearful of the judgment, and I thought, nobody's really going to get me. They're not going to understand where I'm coming from. I think it was as soon as I went to a professional and I really felt understood in that environment, and that's when things started to get better for me.
They recommended then obviously going to see someone in the eating disorder service, which for the first sort of couple of GP appointments I refused. Just because I was nervous about what it would involve, and also even getting better, if that was anything that I wanted as well.
I would say therapy was the large gateway for getting better for me. I think I realised the value of that therapy, and I realised I needed therapy as well. I needed that place that was safe and honest and trustworthy, and that really was the foundation on which I could speak honestly about how I was feeling. And it sort of stretched far beyond how I was struggling with food. A large part of it was about how I was talking to myself, how I was treating myself. All of these things needed to be discussed, really.
I come from a very fit, active family, so a lot of us are naturally on the slimmer side anyway, so it was never alarming that I was underweight, really, within my sort of circle of work and family and friends. So it was never anything that came up. And I was always really careful to avoid social situations that involved food. I think once I sort of settled into the fact that I was going to get help and see people regularly with it, everything worked for me. I was really open to the help I was getting. There's a few things I probably sniggered at, like homework activities. I remember one at the beginning was write a letter to yourself now and a letter to your sort of self in the future. And at the time, I probably had quite an immature reaction to that, but I went and I did it, and and I kept a copy of it. And even now, if I'm having a bit of a blip, I get that out and I read it, because actually the reality of it is what I wrote in that letter for my future self is the life that I've got now, which I never thought I would have.
Initially it was the lack of services in my area. I think there was almost a decade went by where there was nothing geographically in my area that was available to me. So that was a huge hindrance, actually. And I remember going to one therapist who focused purely on the behavioural aspects of the eating disorder and didn't really want to delve into it. And that really was harmful because it closed me off completely. I went more into my shell. I retreated. I didn't want to be open with them. I didn't want to be honest with them because I didn't trust them. I thought they were just trying to challenge my behaviours, and they weren't really helping me. And I think the danger of that then is that you think that it's your fault that you're failing, and that recovery is not something that you're going to be able to do. So that took a while, actually. That took a while to get over that.
So the medical side of my treatment was massively personalised, and I think that made all the difference to me. I remember our original conversation being where the clinician said, I don't know how to manage what you're doing. This is nothing I've dealt with before. We're going to work through it week by week and see what works. And for me, because they were able to say, I don't know how to deal with this, that gave me more faith and more, almost like I wanted to make them changes so that they knew what they were doing. Was like, I was so grateful to get that one-to-one support at that level where it was new and individual for me.
You cannot just look at one person with an eating disorder. Even if you zoom in and say, well, these two people have anorexia, no two people with anorexia are the same. It needs to be a really individualised treatment plan that is flexible. It's got to meet the needs of the individual. You cannot treat two people the same. Okay, I remember there was a turning point when I didn't really speak to anybody about my eating habits. I remember speaking to somebody about the relationship that they had with food. And it really made me realise that it's not just people with eating disorders that have a relationship with food, it's anyone. And the relationship with food is so unique and individual. And it really kind of opened my eyes to this idea that there's no right or wrong way to eat, because I'd listened to nutritionists and dietitians and got kind of frustrated with them that there wasn't the flexibility to incorporate the things I wanted to eat in the ways I wanted to eat them. And I think it felt like we were fighting with each other, when in fact part of the recovery for me was taking that ownership and that liberation of being able to eat in a way that was satisfying, comforting, nourishing, but also connecting me with people that I love and people that I cared about. So that for me that's where the joy for food and that's where the passion came from in order to get better, was that empowerment.
Big thing for me that, like I say, it took me decades to get any help was I was embarrassed by what I was doing. I thought people are going to judge me, are going to think, for what I used to think, am I stupid for doing what I'm doing? Am I uneducated? Like, what am I trying to do? So I was embarrassed to go to anybody, and you're perceived publicly and in your family as one way, and I knew that wasn't what I was, so I was ashamed to admit that. And I think for anyone that is struggling, don't be, because I know it's a commonly used phrase, but you're not alone. It's the help's there. So yeah, I wish I'd done it 30 years earlier.
I would say that recovery is absolutely possible. I would say that there are going to be setbacks, perhaps even relapses, and they're going to be really difficult, but it's an opportunity to get the help you need at the time.